Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the match preview segment for Everton's next Premier League game, back at home to Leicester City. I'm James, and to go over that, of course, I'm joined by Terry McAllister. We'll get straight into it. Terry, how do you feel going into the Leicester game? Obviously, we've just won our last game. Are you feeling confident for this?
I feel okay. It's hard, even after the two games we've had, it's very hard to gauge with these restarted games, because you've seen teams play really well and then the next game they don't play well. And with Leicester, they've got some really good players, and under normal circumstances they're going to give us some trouble, because they've got that one thing that we struggle with up top. They've got that one thing we struggle with, which is pace up top. But the defence across the two games we've played so far has been really, really good. So I am more confident than I typically would have been, because although across the two games, the midfielders, the forwards had varying levels of performance. Some games they were good, some games they were bad. The defence for both games has been really strong. So I am feeling quite good. I wouldn't sit here and go, yeah, we'll beat them, because they're a very good team. But I'm feeling better than I probably would have under the old rules, or normal circumstances. They were coming to Goodison, and there'd been no 3-month break or what have you. So yeah, pretty confident, but not overconfident.
Well, of course, Leicester have drawn both of their games since the resumption. I think they drew with Brighton 0-0 and 1-1 with Watford, which doesn't scream good form. But who else do you want to play when you're trying to turn around your bad form? So it's
exactly
odds law, isn't it, with Everton? And I mean, it is worth noting though that we're recording this on Sunday, and as we speak, Leicester are about to go into a FA Cup quarter-final against Chelsea, which is, again, not an easy game by any means. And obviously this game is on Wednesday, which is a whole week after our Wednesday game against Norwich. We've had a week-long break, which is very rare in this resumption sort of period. So could that sort of work to our advantage, maybe having that extra rest?
Well, you'd hope so, wouldn't you? On paper, that should be a massive advantage, because you could see against Norwich in our last game that the extra 2 days rest that Norwich had really, really had an impact. Now, Norwich, obviously, lacking quality, didn't really take advantage of that. But the Everton team, after, putting in such a shift against Liverpool...
we did look off the pace, didn't we?
We looked really tired, didn't we? And you'd hope that Leicester would, have a little bit of that themselves. We obviously don't know what type of team they're going to put out against Chelsea, but with a full week of training after the games have started and after the season's restarted, you'd hope that this week would be quite important for our games going forward, because the management team can get into the players. We get some players returning to fitness. So, Carlo Ancelotti's mentioned Yerry Mina, he's mentioned Sidibe. Hasn't mentioned Delph, which, Delph's not popular with everyone, certainly not myself, but considering how poor the centre midfield in general was against Norwich, you'd like as many options to be available there as possible, especially with so many games, coming up back-to-back. But I think this could be a game where we possibly see Sidibe come in. I wouldn't be surprised if we brought Sidibe in on the right-hand side and put Iwobi left in his favourite position, because out of, Gordon, Bernard and Iwobi's impressed the most since he came back into the team.
Definitely, yeah.
That Norwich second half, everyone else has sort of been middling to okay.
Yeah, I think Iwobi deserves a chance to play in that left wing role, because it suits him to cut in, I think, and play the way Bernard maybe plays, and sort of sneak into that number 10 position. And we might be able to cause Leicester a few problems if we do that right.
Well, you'd hope so, wouldn't you? Because if, Carlo seemingly likes to play that 4-4-2, that sort of shifts to a 3-4-3. And that would work if you had someone more naturally, wide, comfortable on the wide right. Now, I know Sidibe's a right back, but he presses so high that he's obviously quite comfortable on right midfield with Coleman behind him. That allows Coleman to just stay in that sort of right centre-back position. And then that suits Iwobi, because Iwobi can cut inside and come in and, do a bit of his better work with Luca Dean on his outside. So, I mean, it all depends on fitness. We could get, to the next Leicester game and, Wolby's, not as fit as Bernard or whatever, Gordon. He wants to give Gordon a better chance. But it's nice to have some better options. And, you just hope that, Leicester aren't as, fit and fresh as we will be on the day. Because I think the fitness of teams will be a massive just decider in a lot of games. I think we're going to we haven't had it yet because everyone's just coming back. But I think as the games go on, we'll start to see more and more shock results just because of the sizes of teams, the general fitness of players. I think that will start taking a toll when the games start piling up.
Are you sure that'll be more of a shock thing or maybe more going according to the form book, considering the bigger teams do have bigger squads to rotate?
I mean, yeah, it could go that way, but I as you saw in Germany, that it was a lot of away victories, which is not normal because of the lack of fans. It might not even be a squad size thing. It could be that some of the smaller squads, because they play, that they built up their fitness quicker. I mean, I don't know, I'm not an expert, but it could be that the fitness in the smaller squads builds up, and then they're a lot fresher than the teams who rotate. Because if you've got a player who's got 2 or 3 games, 4 games under his belt, and then you've got another player who's only got 1, and he's coming in for his second one, it could be that he's badly off the pace. I mean, we don't know. It's a different competition. This is like a Premier League mini tournament. After what is effectively 3 months is longer than the players are usually off. Like
Yeah.
The players, the off season, at least they come back and they have a pre-season. We've come back and started a Premier League mini tournament with relegation on the line and title and Champions League and what have you, but no pre-season. We got about 2 weeks of like light training, social distance, and then went right, you're back in the Premier League now. So I think more injuries will happen and more like quirks of form will come up. So we just don't know.
Obviously, our injury record, even without lockdown, wasn't fantastic. We do have to tread pretty carefully when it comes to injuries because we've never had much luck in that department, I don't think. Thankfully, we've come out of the first 2 games unscathed, and the week's rest might just be enough to stop one happening in the Leicester game, or you never know. Injuries permitting, what sort of team could we be looking at, do you think? You mentioned a few of them there. Maybe Sidibe comes back in Iwobi in that inverted left wing, I don't know.
I mean, if everyone's fit and healthy, then Sidibe for Bernard, put Iwobi on the left. It's probably the only one because the back 5 played so well. I wouldn't change that yet. I mean, he can go onto the bench and wait for his chance because, Michael Keane, don't think Michael Keane would have started alongside Holgate if everyone had been fit, but he was fantastic the first 2 games.
He hasn't put a foot wrong, has he? So we've got to keep him in.
No, he's good. So, Holgate's turned into the top defender at the club inside this, 1 season, which is, brilliant. He's a beast at the minute. So obviously he stays there. So, I mean, if Delph's fit, could possibly see him coming in for Davies. I mean, this may be a mistake, but I could even see Sigurdsson starting for Davies, considering Sigurdsson performed a lot better than Davies in the Norwich second half. But I think with Leicester's midfielders, that might be a mistake.
Is Andre Gomez's place in the team safe? He didn't play well himself against Norwich.
Yeah, I think it is because Davies was worse. Gomez was awful, but he was better than Davies. So I think, and plus his baseline, is better than Davies. And, Gomez doesn't lose the ball quite as often as Davies does.
Well, that's it, yeah.
I think they'd both be in trouble if we had other decent midfielders. But when you're sweating on Fabian Dells to come back to fitness and Gylfi Sigurdsson to come in, I think you're as safe as you're going to be. I think
that's so ominous, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Gomez is one of those players in this team who, if he's fit, he plays, and that's just a fact. It's not good for the competition of the squad, but if he's fit, I couldn't see Gomez being on the bench fully fit with Sigurdsson and Davies starting centre midfield. Imagine the meltdown if that came out.
Oh my God!
No, I think he's held on to start. It's just who goes next to him.
I mean, it's going to be food for thought, I think, for transfers this summer, isn't it? We're going to have to bring in a couple of centre mids at this rate, even if it's only on loan, because we can't be going into next season with this kind of debate over who's the worst in the centre midfield.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me, like, the season I got my first season ticket was 2004-5, and that back then we had no, not 4-5, the year before 3-4 when we finished 17th,
Yeah.
2004, and centre midfield was exactly then like it is now. We had about 5 or 6 centre midfielders, and they were all terrible. Like apart from Gravison, and Carsley, who were good, but they weren't as good as they were going to be the next season when like Moyes hit on his formula with Cahill and the 4-1-4-1. But we had Tobias Lindelof, Alex Nyarko, like low. We had about 5 or 6
We had
midfielders.
Leeds High and
Yeah, we had about
Hendridge and all that.
5 or 6 midfielders, centre midfielders, and the centre midfield was the problem every game. Like there was no combination that seemed to work. And obviously it did work when you put Cahill in the mix with Gravison and Carsley, but that was the season after. So I'm hoping we get a similar thing in the summer, that where you bring in one player, whoever that may be, one key midfielder, and the rest can sort of click around him because he's the sort of glue that brings it together. So it's not about numbers. We've got 3 centre midfielders, senior centre midfielders, but it's Sigurdsson, Gomez, and Davies. So it's
I
Gomez.
think we just need to develop a bit more of a cohesion in the midfield, because that could change everything.
I know it's just Gabaman, isn't it? It's like what was if Gabaman was fit, would we now be looking at him going, I wish we had him all season, he's been playing well, or would he be like, he's crap, we were all waiting for him, it's terrible. But they're gonna need to bring in at least one midfielder in the summer, and if Gabaman's injuries long term again, which it is, maybe get another one on loan.
Definitely. But obviously looking ahead to the Leicester game, what can we expect from Leicester? I mean, of course, it's hard to judge considering we haven't yet seen them play this game against Chelsea. But we've seen them, obviously they beat us in November or December, whenever. But like since the return, it's been pretty fair to middling from Leicester's performance-wise, I think.
Yeah, they were the better team against Watford. I saw them play against Watford, and they were the better team. And they only, they conceded. They were basically, it was a similar thing where games we've played where they should have won, and then the last second, just went against them, and the opposition snatched the draw out of their hands. I don't know. I'm not sleeping on Leicester. I think they're a very good team. I think Jamie Vardy, I'm really worried about him. As good as our back four's been, I think he might have the beating of Keane and Holgate. Even though Holgate's been playing well, Vardy's a very experienced, very clever, very fast striker. And Holgate and Keane are not fast. Holgate's quick, but you couldn't say he was fast when you see him chasing Willian in that Chelsea game a few months ago. So I'm a bit worried because they're a very good team, and the usual, sort of X factor of being at home, being at Goodison might not be there. So I'm not banking on this one as like we'll win because we're at home. I'm a bit worried. I'd be quite happy with a draw, if I'm honest, because they are a very good team.
I mean, it's also worth noting that I think Vardy's on a bit of a scoring drought, so you know what happens there.
Well, nailed on, isn't it? But we've got quality as well. Like they'll be, if the Leicester Blue, the Foxes Blues channel or whatever, like if that exists, they'll be sitting there doing a podcast now, going, yeah, but Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin are good. They might give our centre backs some trouble. Like we've got weapons that can do some damage to them as well. So it's going to be an interesting game because it's all about the up front. I think it's Vardy and Maddison or Iheanacho, maybe, depends who goes up front with them, versus Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin, who has a better game on the day.
Definitely, I think the only downside for us compared to them is the midfield. They have Tielemans and Ndidi, and we have Davis and a half-fit Andre Gomez.
Yeah, Pretty much. I mean, I'm a big fan of Tillemans and Ndidi. Still knocks me sick that they got Tillemans. I liked him years ago. Basically, I heard about him because he was mates with Lukaku in the Belgian squad. So I started I did this with Klassen as well. This is with different level of success, I suppose. Started watching them before they ever ended up in the Premier League, with the idea that they might have signed for Everton. Obviously, Klassen didn't work out. Tillemans never did, but he signed for Leicester and he's turned out to be good. So he's one of them players of mine who I just think, if we don't, I was just desperate for us to get him. I think he's a great player, and Ndidi obviously wasn't on to him before he went there, but Ndidi's even better than him. Ndidi's a monster. It's like another Idrissa Gueye.
It's like Idrissa Gueye on steroids.
Yeah, pretty much. They're a very good team, and the pressure's on them. They can't relax, go and wear safer in our Champions League spots. Man United and Chelsea are both bearing down on them. So there's things to play for, and it'll be a big test. If Everton can win this game or get a result, then they are in the mix for the European places. But if we lose, then even with the games left to go, you'd probably think, you know what, it's more about making sure we finish as high as we can now. We're probably too far away from Europe. It's going to be a big indicator of what the rest of the games are going to be like for us this match, I think.
So it's going to be quite a telling game, I think. It's going to be crucial to get a decent result in this game to see, and also a decent performance to maybe see where we can go from there. Obviously, we've got Tottenham, I think, after that. It's just not an easy game. That's at their new grounds. And then we've got a few winnable games, but it decides whether or not we're going to actually have a shot at Europe this season now, I think, isn't it? I mean, it's astonishing, really. We're still in the bottom half. But yeah, it's
an outside shot of Europe, but because the games are so compact and tight together, because the table is also very tight. There's 4 points between 3 places sometimes, and games have been played now. I won't make anything about points, but we're not that far away from the European places. So a good week, if you win 2 games and another team, draws and loses or whatever, can suddenly shift because there's not as much time to correct it. So every week's I think this table is going to be vastly different to what it may have been if it hadn't, we hadn't have had the lockdown and come back, because every time there's a round of games, the table changes. So the only thing you can sort of guarantee is who's in danger of relegation. It's going to be those 5 teams at the bottom. And obviously the title's been decided now. Everywhere else is up for grabs. So we know the bottom 5, we know the top 2. And that's it. Everywhere else is available.
That's it, yeah. I think, so what's that mean? We're going to finish 3rd, does it?
Yeah, probably. I'd say so. But
more likely to be 15.
Would you have said Wolves are being a shout for 3rd? Because they look like they might be now.
No, yeah, I've been very impressed with Wolves. I mean,
I know,
we've got them coming up as well later on, so I'm not looking forward to that.
Well, this is what I mean. You would never have said that, even though Wolves were playing all right. They got about 14 draws, but it's it can change that rapidly. You could end up with could end up with Wolves in the Champions League and Sheffield United in the bottom half. It's just so volatile, that sort of middle part of the table.
Unfortunately, we're right in the midst of all that as well, so who knows? Like I said, we could end up in the top 4 or we'd end up in the bottom 6.
Yeah, I mean, be quite nice to if we don't get in Europe, it'd be quite nice to finish above Arsenal just to watch Arsenal on TV.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll be more concerned about their Tottenham, because Tottenham haven't exactly set the world alight this season. But if they still finish above Arsenal after that, I'm sure they won't be pleased about that.
Oh, probably not.
But yeah, I think the top half's the least we should be aiming for.
Oh yeah, I when you look at you can't make any guarantees about finishing above Spurs. What are they called? Wolves, Spurs, Wolves, all them teams. But you'd like to think we finish above Burnley and Palace, wouldn't you? No disrespect to them, but with all things being even, with our run of games and their size squad, you'd think, what, we've done something badly wrong if we finish outside this top 10 when we've had this many games to get it right.
I know, it is concerning to still be in the bottom half this late into the season. That's not something we've actually seen very often, even under Allardyce. I think we were in the top half at this stage of the season. So,
it's quick to the table, mate. If you can chalk a lot of that up to the previous manager. Since Ancelotti's come in, I'm sure we're third. If we just went off,
we are a third or fourth under Ancelotti. But obviously, when he took over, we were
fourth. You're right. Yeah, it's Liverpool, City, Man United, us since Ancelotti came in. So it's easy to think how we bottom halves because you've got used to having Ancelotti now. It wasn't that long ago we had Marco Silva and
we were
playing awful. Yeah, so it's same with Tottenham and the same with Arsenal. You can't really, if you change manager mid-season, I think that season's a write-off. You just need to do the best you can.
Yeah, well, let's hope it's enough anyway, because, I mean, it's certainly going to be we need to start making some strides forward, and I know the squad's a bit limited, but, we do need to see some evidence of it. And I think we have done, well, certainly before the lockdown, we saw some signs of what could be, and the performances haven't been particularly bad since the restart, I don't think. I mean, I was a bit concerned first half against Norwich, but other than that, I think we've been okay considering the circumstances. But this week's rest could be crucial, couldn't it? I mean, we've got to really make the most of that, and hopefully we'll see the fitness tell in that respect, that we've had that extra break, because I think that's going to be the telling factor. If we're going to get a result against Leicester, that's going to be what decides, I think.
Yeah, I do. But we'll see anyway. It's going to be interesting. I'm glad to be watching footy again. It's great, isn't it? Especially when you're winning matches.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it's felt like an age when we won that Norwich game. It's our first win for over 4 months. Painful, isn't it?
Thank you.
Right. Well, anyway, will we have a second win in 4 months against Leicester? We'll finish with our predictions. What are you going to say for Everton versus Leicester?
I'm going to go for 1-1. Be quite conservative.
Fair play. I'm going to go 1-0 to Everton. I'm going to be optimistic. But we're not a high-scoring side. Defence has been decent, so I'd say if we're going to win, it's going to be by a 1-goal margin, and it's going to be most likely the lowest 1-goal margin it can be. So I'm going to go for another 1-0. Right. There you have it, guys. That's our predictions for Everton versus Leicester. I mean, it's going to be an interesting one. We've got more of a rest than they have, but you can never predict anything. I'm going to use that classic lockdown phrase again, and it's an unprecedented time, isn't it?
Mark your bingo cards, anyone who's
I know, it's lockdown bingo, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there you have it, guys. Everton versus Leicester's coming up on Wednesday. Let us know what you think. Give us a few predictions maybe in the comments below. Let us know how you think we'll get on. Give the video a like and subscribe to the Toffee Blues for more content and all that other stuff. And thank you for watching on the Toffee Blues.